single, white, selfless, humble, generous woman offering a room in her home to a friend in need. This is the advertisement I should have put in the paper, or at least should have communicated to my friend Rhonda before she moved in. Small room in a beautiful home, close to open space, beautiful garden, Lucky's Market on the corner, lots of trails, great community. Conscious expectations. You will look for a job, and when you find a job, you will start to pay rent. You will leave the house before my clients arrive and return after they are done, and you will keep the living room and bathroom clean. We will talk when neither one of us is working. We will have fun. We will do all sorts of things that we couldn't do when you weren't living in town. No strings attached. Unconscious expectations. You will fill the hole that's in my life because I don't have a partner. You will see only the perfection and the amazing qualities here, and you will ignore my jealousy, my neediness, my anger, and my sadness. You will just reflect to me the amazing qualities that I have, but that I can't see. You will be my surrogate partner, a friend without benefits. Warning, strings definitely attached. 3 months after she moved in, Rhonda moved out, saying she never wanted to speak to me again. Here's how I responded. What is she doing? Why is she leaving? Why can't she talk to me? I have offered to talk to her over and over and over. I'm a therapist, for God's sake. I should be safe. She should be able to talk to me. What's wrong with her? Hi, my name is Sandra. I'm a blamer. I'm a psychotherapist, and I think I should be above all that human stuff. But much to my chagrin, I'm not. I shame, I blame, I get angry, I get sad, I'm needy. I don't like to see it, but I have those human things that everyone has. Brene Brown, a shame and vulnerability researcher, talks about blame as the discharge of discomfort, anger, and pain. Discomfort, anger, and pain. She says that the question that we want answered when we're blaming is, whose fault is it? I was pretty clear. It was her fault. Tonight I'd like to talk to you about why we blame, what caused me to reevaluate blame as a strategy, and 3 tools that helped me deal with this. One of the biggest benefits, or pseudo-benefits, as my father would say, that I got out of blaming Rhonda was that I got to keep the facade of this magnanimous, kind, generous person who had her shit together. And I was just helping this friend who was kind of a pain in the ass. That made me feel good about myself. So blaming did discharge enough that helped me to stay sort of okay in my own skin. One of the other major benefits was that I got to feel in control. She left, saying she never wanted to talk to me again. Inherently, that leaves me out of control. I wanted her to talk. I was coming and grasping at her over and over while she lived with me. And then all of a sudden, she was just gone. So by blaming her, it gave me this semblance that I had some power. I could take it out on her and still feel good about myself, even though I couldn't talk to her. Also, when I blamed myself, I had a little bit of control. This happened more when she was living with me. I would try to be the perfect person and read her mind and do exactly what I thought would help her to feel comfortable so she'd hang out with me. I wanted a partner. I wanted someone to play with. I didn't have one. So I was trying to make her be it. That was the way I was controlling, was by contorting myself to try to fit into who she needed me to be so I could have a friend, so I could have a playmate. Part of the blame also served to give me power, that pseudo-power that you have in justification and righteousness. I got to be right. And I felt strong for a few moments. It didn't actually last very long. And this leads me to the causes that popped me out of using blame as a strategy. I could no longer look at the situation as if I wasn't involved. I had left 3 good friends and a partner in the 15 years prior to this. She left me. It hurt my ego. But she wasn't the common denominator. I was. That caused me to look inward. But that alone probably would not have caused me to stop blaming. Another fact that had crept up on me was that I was 44 years old. I'd never been married. I didn't have children. I didn't own a home. And my business was successful, but not according to societal standards. I didn't like that. I was hiding more and more. I had been used to being the person in the world who accomplished things, who was good at things. I was an athlete. I was a good student. And when I stopped following societal norms, I became a river guide. And I still competed in athletics, so I was cool. At 44, I had stopped doing a lot of those things. And I had been hiding a little bit more and a little bit more in my apartment. So Rhonda leaving, me hiding and feeling like I couldn't show my face because I was weird and I wasn't cool anymore. It was really difficult. But it caused me to look inside and to attempt to take responsibility for my part in this latest fiasco. And it was a fiasco because I was losing friends. I had very few good friends left. And I felt isolated and alone. And I did not want to be that way for the rest of my life. It's not an easy journey to look at myself and to admit that I was probably the one who was the culprit in this situation. I don't know about you, but I still blame. I imagine all of you have a relationship with blame, whether you blame yourself, your sister, your parents, your children, your best friend, your partner, our government, the universe. Blame has probably entered in at some point. But for me, blame was no longer an adequate discharge of my discomfort and pain. So I started to turn inward. The first tool that I used was start with yourself. To examine yourself and to examine myself to see what was true and what was in my unconscious. Bruce Lipton, a cell biologist, tells us that 90 to 95% of the time we are being run by our unconscious. What? That means only 5 to 10% of the time are we conscious. I didn't want to believe that, but this situation shone the light on that. And as a therapist, when my clients come in and they want to blame, we rant for a little while, just like I did at the beginning with my friend. And we get some of that anger and discomfort discharged, and then we step aside and try to take a neutral look at their situation and see what part they might be playing in this that's hard to see, that's in that unconscious that it's kind of hard to see by yourself. I had a client recently who came in and she had just had really difficult discussions with 2 of her friends, both of whom told her that she was too demanding as a friend and that she was just like her mother. She did not want to hear that because her mother's angry. But when we could discharge and then take a look, she realized that she had been training one of them since high school that she would do whatever this friend wanted. whenever, no matter how inconvenient, and that her needs actually didn't matter. She didn't believe she was worthy enough or good enough to ask for what she wanted. She didn't really want to see that. It's not a really pleasant thing to see. And she also didn't want to acknowledge that when she was with them and she shoved her needs down and she didn't ask for what she wanted, eventually over time, she got resentful and then she would just blow up. And unfortunately, she saw how she was like her mother. She said some pretty mean things to this friend. It's hard for me to see what's in my unconscious. One of the beliefs that I uncovered when I was dealing with this situation with Rhonda was that I felt unlovable. So no wonder I wanted her to fill this pocket, this hole of my unworthiness for not having a partner, because if she didn't fill it, nobody was going to fill it. How was I going to find someone? So I tried to make her fit. Didn't quite work. And that leads me to the second tool, which is once we've uncovered these things, can we learn to actually embrace them? Embrace our humanness. It's not an easy thing to do. I did not want to see that I felt unlovable. Again, I'm a therapist. I'm supposed to be good in relationship. That doesn't really bode well for me. And my client didn't want to see her unworthiness and the anger that she was exhibiting like her mother. But what we both realized is that by seeing it and accepting it, or at least turning towards accepting it, we could find a little bit more space, a little bit more peace. And for me, it was like taking off the straitjacket of perfection so that I didn't have to accommodate and contort myself and be good at everything all the time. I could be me, and I could realize that I was human just like you and you and you. I wasn't better than, and I wasn't worse than. Bittersweet. I like being better than. With embracing our humanness, then what I did and what I encourage my clients to do when they're ready is to share this with other people, to share our humanness and our vulnerability with people. And the first person I shared it with was Rhonda. I had gone to a workshop where I saw how harsh my inner critic was for me, and consequently how harsh I'm pretty sure it was for her. And on the first break, I called her, bawling, please, will you just let me talk to you? I just want to apologize. I just want to tell you how sorry I am. And I don't cry. So this was really vulnerable. Well, I take that back. I cry now. I didn't used to cry. So she knew when she got it that this was a big deal because she hadn't heard me cry in the years of our friendship. She called me back. We met for coffee and we reconciled. And I'm happy to say today that our relationship is stronger than it ever was before. And that continually surprises both of us. The other way that I've been sharing myself with others is by taking the risk to cry, taking the risk to be angry and not politically correct, and to show my neediness that's so repulsive to the part of me that's got that great facade of the therapist and the athlete, and I've got my shit together. So I have a friend that I go running with often, and we have this conversation that irritates both of us. She talks about this guy, and I have a jealous reaction, and I say something, and she gets irritated at me. And normally I just say, okay. I don't want to get irritated. I don't want to have conflict. Let's just forget about it. But this one day, instead of doing that, I went, ah! Felt kind of good. And instead of running away from me or telling me that I was too much or too big or too crazy, she actually stepped forward and went, oh, I want more of that. My brain didn't quite know what to do with that because I assumed that my emotions were too big. People would leave. I would be abandoned. And of course, this hole would still be here. But by sharing my genuine emotions and my genuine needs with people, they actually started to invite me in more, and I had more and more intimacy in my life. Like I said earlier, I still blame. I caught myself driving home yesterday, going behind someone who was driving the speed limit. And I missed the green light. It was his fault, of course. And I blame from anything from as insignificant as that to bigger things with my best friends, my family. It's something that I will be dealing with, I imagine, for the rest of my life. And I imagine you will be too, in some form or another. What these processes have done for me is help build my awareness. So now I have choice between the seductive parts of blame and turning towards the messiness of being human. And in that messiness, finding more connection and intimacy. I try to choose that, but the seduction of blame, it pulls me in every now and then still. My invitation for you is to catch yourself the next time you're blaming. Whether it's 2 seconds before, right in the middle of it, 2 seconds after, 2 weeks later, 10 years later. And once you catch yourself, take a step back. Take a deep breath and start with yourself. Talk to a friend. Try to see maybe a little bit of what you don't want to see or what you can't see. And then turn towards really embracing it. And then share it with someone, whether it's the person you were going to blame, a friend, a family member. Take the risk to share it with someone safe, someone you trust. Rhonda wasn't the only person that I reached out to at this time. I called 12 other people, 8 of whom responded, and I had healing conversations with all of them. And they are back in my life, not in quite as profound a way as Rhonda, but they're back in my life. That's 66%. That's a D. My performer and achiever hates that. But at this stage in my life, I'll take a D. Will you?